Hey folks, it's Sydney from LangChain, and I'm super excited to chat with you today about a specific application of context engineering, and that is design decisions when building a multi-agent system with a subagent architecture. Let's first do a quick review of the subagents architecture. So in a subagents, often called supervisor architecture, we have a user request coming into the main agent, which can then delegate tasks to any number of subagents in parallel, and then the main agent is responsible for returning a final response in the end. This architecture scores quite well in terms of supporting distributed development across teams, so subagents can be developed along different verticals. It's also great if you need to invoke subagents in parallel compared to some of the other architectures that we've covered. You can also have multi-hop interactions, so many iterations of that model and tool calling loop where you're calling subagents in series. Let's jump into some of the key design decisions that you'll want to make when you're building with this architecture. So there's three main categories here. The first is whether or not you're invoking your subagent in an asynchronous versus synchronous way. This isn't to be confused with Python's async and await quite literally, but generally the pattern here is if you're invoking your subagents in a synchronous way, the main agent waits. But generally what this means is if you're invoking your subagents in a synchronous way, your main agent is blocked by those calls and waits on all of the subagent results. And if you're invoking your subagents in an asynchronous way, those subagents run as background tasks that don't block the main agent's execution. Secondarily, we'll chat about tool design. So you can either have a single tool that dispatches to any available subagents, or a tool per subagent. Finally, we'll talk about some context engineering strategies with the subagents architecture. So that includes things like the specifications of your subagents, and then the inputs that you provide to your subagents, and the outputs that you take from your subagents and feed back to the main agent. First, we'll chat about the sync versus async execution of subagents. So in the synchronous case, the main agent behavior is waiting for that subagent to complete, and this is best for the case when that main agent needs the results of the subagent executors in order to continue. This is a more simple architecture, but does block the conversation, and so isn't the best choice if you have specific latency requirements. Conversely, in the async case, the main agent actually continues while those subagent tasks run in the background. So this is best when you have independent tasks that the end user doesn't need to wait on. This architecture is generally more responsive and better if you have stricter latency requirements, but it is definitely more complex. So the first option that you have with tool design is that you can use a tool per agent. And we see this in this slightly modified diagram of the subagents architecture here. So still the user request is passed to the main agent, and then we're representing tools in green here. So we have tools for each of subagent A, B, and C, and then those tools are responsible for invoking the actual subagents themselves, which we're showing in gray. The biggest advantage of this architecture is that it gives you really fine-grained control over your subagent inputs and outputs. So you control exactly what goes into each of those subagents, and then you can filter those outputs before passing them back to the main agent, and you can do that in a custom way per subagent. One downside of this architecture, though, is that there is more to configure. It's a little bit more complex. The second tool design choice that you could make is to use a single dispatch tool. So in this case, we just have one task tool shown in green, and that task tool can dispatch to any of the available subagents, again shown in gray. This is actually the pattern that Claude Code uses, as well as deep agents. One thing that you want to make sure to do if you're using this single dispatch tool pattern is exposing all of the available agents to your main agent. So in the case of the tool per agent, your main agent knows about each of the available subagents because it has the list of available tools. But in this case, there's a couple of different ways that you can provide that subagent information. So the first approach is just to list all of the available subagents in the system prompt of the main agent. This works great if you don't have too many subagents available. The second approach is to enumerate all of the available subagents as one of the tool arguments for the task tool or the dispatch tool. And so what that might look like is, the task tool has an agent name arg, and so you could enumerate each of subagent A, B, and C there. Finally, you could also consider a progressive disclosure approach here. So if you have an abundance of subagents where it doesn't make sense to list all of them up front, you can provide your main agent with access to a list agents tool. That list agents tool can expose the appropriate subagents for a given task. one of the benefits of this architecture in particular is that it is more supportive of the case where you have many subagents and you can't expose all of them as tools at once. Ultimately, though, the tool design decision is up to you. These are just two pretty similar architectures, and the great thing is that both of these architectures support distributed development of subagents. All right, and then finally, we'll touch on a bit more of the context engineering portion. So we're going to talk about subagent specifications, inputs, and outputs. In terms of subagent specs, what this really means is you need to provide the main agent with enough information about the subagents so that it can call the right ones when appropriate, given the context. Here we have a code snippet defining a deep research subagent tool. You can see that the tool is defined as a function, and then we actually call the researcher agent from within that tool. It's important that we think carefully about a few things here. The first is the tool name, or agent name in this case, which helps to inform the main agent regarding when it should call this subagent. The second is the agent description, provided via the doc string here. And the third, when you're using a tool per agent, is the actual function args, types, and descriptions shown here. In this basic case, we're just feeding the query passed to the function directly into that researcher subagent. But what if we want to customize the subagent input so that it can do a bit of a better job with the context provided? In this case, we can add an expertise argument to our deep research subagent tool that can be either beginner, intermediate, or expert. Then we modify the human message that we're going to pass to our researcher based on this expertise. Generally, when we think about modifying subagent inputs, that can include filtering and editing the message history, or injecting additional relevant state or context. You can also customize the subagent outputs. So previously, while we were returning just the last message from our researcher subagent, we can instead return the entire message history from that subagent to our main agent if we think that the main agent understanding the trajectory of the research would help with the broader task at hand. Generally, we find that folks have a lot of success with the subagent's multi-agent architecture. It's quite simple to understand, and nice that you can support parallel agent invocations and distributed development across teams. It's definitely critical, though, to think carefully about these design decisions when you're building out your next multi-agent system. Thanks!